You know, I found over the years that a lot of people, when they do a list video, it's usually a list they found online. Today, we're going to change that up a bit, and I'm going to show you 25 items that I think will disappear quick in a disaster or crisis, because they're what I saw disappear back in March of 2020. Let's check it out. Alright everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to give you a quick list of 25 items that I saw disappear quickly during a crisis locally here. Now I'm located in Pahrump, Nevada. I'm about 60 miles outside of Las Vegas. We're a semi-rural town, mostly retired folks, some younger people moving in now, but we're not yet a bedroom community of Las Vegas. And there's about anywhere from 36 to 40,000 people out here. So you get an idea of the makeup of the town. We have about 3 different grocery stores. And these were some of the items that I personally saw disappear during a crisis the first time. So let's start off with a very simple one. Something that I was really shocked to see disappear, because I always heard it on these lists, but it really actually happened. And that is aluminum foil. I can't begin to tell you how much stuff you can make as a survivalist with aluminum foil. Plates, cups, bowls, everything. Not only that, but it helps preserve food, it helps cook food. Very, very handy to have. This is merely one box out of many that I have stored away. Very, very handy item to have in a disaster or emergency, and it just disappeared. There was none. I mean, there was none. There weren't even Ziploc bags when that started. Now, we're talking about March 2020, right after the lockdowns and the pandemic started to really take effect. People went crazy and went buying like nuts, okay? Next up, pet food. I got cats, okay? Pet food, canned cat food was just non-existent. Thankfully, I have a good amount of dry cat food that I had put away, so for a few weeks I rotated some of it out, and I'm actually rotating with that stuff now from the stuff I used towards wet cat food. A little bit easier to store, lasts a little bit longer. The dry cat food I found got a little stale. My cats weren't eating it as much, so there's a little lesson to learn from that. Also, too, because I have cats, they're going to need water and they're going to need litter. And that's something else that disappeared, cat litter. It was like, why are people hoarding cat litter? I mean, it has a lot of other uses other than cats going to the bathroom in it, but it was very hard to find, and I really stocked up extra on it. I mean, I had a few things put away, but I really heavily stocked up on it this time. So now, when there's another disaster, kind of learned from my mistake of not heavily stocking enough, and I have enough put away. All right, number 3, antibacterial soap and wipes. Now, I have baby wipes up there, and I have some antibacterial soap behind. You can't see it. But definitely handy stuff, and stuff that disappeared right away. That's probably because, you know, it was a pandemic and people were concerned about washing their hands. So the antibacterial soap was just non-existent for a good 3 months out here. Baby wipes took about 3 to 4 weeks, and they started showing up again. It got to the point where people without babies that buy them regularly and use them were getting yelled at for buying them because they didn't have children, and it got really weird. So a good idea to keep a bunch of baby wipes or antiseptic wipes. I've even stockpiled some alcohol wipes. Very, very handy for cleaning things up. Definitely something to put away and keep ready for you to use. Next up, number 4, bandanas and handkerchiefs. Let's move this out of the way. Interestingly enough, I got this bandana during the pandemic in something that I was reviewing. And thank goodness I did, because you couldn't find them anywhere. They were completely gone. I guess everybody was using them as masks, but I wanted to put a new one in my bag, my daily carry bag, because they're so useful and so resourceful. You can use them as preliminary water filters. You can use them as masks. You can use them to filter things. If you're in a smoky environment or dirty environment or something and you're trying to escape, these can be fashioned into a mask. They can be made into a sling. There's tons of uses for them. Many, many years ago, I did a 25 uses for bandanas type video, and was really shocked at all the uses I came up with. Next up, buckets and containers. Okay, buckets and containers were really hard to find. I have a white bucket down here because it wouldn't fit on the table. But you know these things. They don't necessarily have to be food grade because, again, we're putting Mylar bags into them. But buckets and containers were really hard to find. They disappeared quickly. These little guys here, these little Tupperware containers, also very, very difficult to find. And that is something that you're going to want to use to put your food in, your leftovers, maybe mix stuff up in if you're using freeze-dried food. So definitely want to stock that up and make sure they're ready. All right, next up, batteries. Yeah, batteries. Good old batteries. I know a lot of stuff has gone to rechargeable, okay? But with the advent in longer battery life, you can kind of stock up on these a little more safely and securely. I still go through my stash and look for any kind of stuff on them if they're starting to go bad. But batteries were really, really hard to come by. Could not find them anywhere for a good month. Thankfully, I got a lot stocked up, so I was feeling pretty good about my stash. And once it was over, I restocked. Now another thing, and this still hasn't really returned to normal yet, was bleach. Of course, it was a pandemic, everybody was buying bleach, but bleach has so many uses. Now I'm talking about plain bleach, similar to this here, okay? Just plain bleach, no slow pouring, none of that stuff, none of that kind of syrupy stuff. You want plain old bleach. The higher you can get of the sodium hypochlorite, the better, okay? And that seems to run out really quickly after crises. I've seen it run out before when we've had minor issues in town, you know, like with supply chain stuff and everything. Definitely runs out a lot, and it's definitely handy. However, do know that that bleach is only going to be good for about 6 months. You got to rotate it. So if you use bleach a lot, like I use it to mop, I use it to clean my sinks, my bathtub, I will go through, 3 cans and 3 bottles in 3 months, and I'll keep it rotating fresh. I'll go through one, I'll get another, go through another, get another, and I keep moving it up and forward in my stash. So I don't store it too heavily, but I do keep a good amount put away, and I kind of upstock that a little bit when things were in short supply. All right, next up, candles, lighting, any kind of thing you can get lighting. I have a fake candle out here because I really didn't want to get up on a ladder and dig through my storeroom to get my candles out. But candles, even tea candles, pretty safe, small, low to the ground, very handy. This is an electronic one. So obviously we're not going to be talking about electrical ones. But if you can find them, heck, they're good too. Candles are definitely something to keep stocked up, and they were something that I buy most of my candles at the Dollar Tree. All right, they're cheap, they're easy, they're great for that, and they were something that were very, very hard to come by. So stock up on candles. Next one. Now we all kind of are still experiencing this intermittently from time to time. Cash and change. We magically had some kind of change shortage in the country after a disaster. Cash long-term probably isn't all that great, but for short-term, if the power's down, and I experienced this many times in this town, if the power's down, you're standing there holding your little piece of plastic on, why isn't this working? I gotta get food home to my kids, and you have no way to buy it because there's no way to verify that there's money on that card. If electronics and phone lines and whatever are down, they're also pretty useless. I've had many experiences in this town where, heck, I was shopping in a store once, gosh, when I first moved here, maybe 12 or 13, 14 years ago, where a woman in town had a major car accident, smashed into a power pole, and took out power for all the locations where our stores are, the Walmart, Albertsons, Smiths, everything was out. Well, what did I do? I got my flashlight that I always keep on me, out, finished my shopping, went up front, paid cash, because the registers were on backup, but the phone lines went down as well, so they couldn't verify anything. Most of the stuff's done over the internet now, but she took out a phone line as well, so that took out the internet as well. So cash is always handy to have short term, whoops, let's grab that, for disasters and emergencies. So, let's move on to the next item. Next item is going to be generators, solar or otherwise. Now, I don't have my generator up here. You guys have seen the video on it. I really like having a gasoline-powered generator or propane. I am planning on buying the propane upgrade kit for that so I can run it off propane as well as gasoline. But definitely some kind of generator. Solar generators, they're awesome too. I have a couple more reviews of some awesome solar generators coming up too, so check them out. I really call them solar generators when they have a solar panel with them. Power stations. You get the idea. I've done hundreds of them on this channel. So definitely check out some way to generate electricity so you can charge your devices, keep things going, and have a way to back up power in your home. If you rely on a bunch of electronic gear to keep you alive, like oxygen, CPAP, stuff like that, you definitely want to think about this now before they disappear. Generators in town here were practically non-existent, and I don't know why, because we didn't lose power. But it's like everybody was in emergency mode, and they went to Home Depot and bought every generator there was. So generators will disappear. We've seen them disappear in other disasters too. They'll just disappear quickly. All right, next up, hand-operated can openers. Somebody suggested this, was it OXO? OXO can opener to me in one of my videos, and it's a very, very handy one. It cuts along the side. But can openers, a lot of people have a lot of canned goods stored, And I go, so how are you going to open those? And you get that blank stare, like, oh, I didn't think of that. Not many people have can openers anymore. A lot of the stuff is pull top now. So definitely get yourself a can opener. Definitely comes in handy for a bunch of different things. And that was something else that I saw that was nowhere to be found during the pandemic shortages. We lasted for about 3 months here with those kind of shortages. And that was something that was very, very hard to come by. All right. Next up, lamp, oil, and wicks. Okay, and lamps as well. Got a lamp here. This one has been tested. I did burn it to test it. But I have an extra wick in it and a little filler. It's kind of dusty because it's hanging up in one of my storerooms. But these are actually good ones. These are not the cheapy Walmart ones. These actually work. They don't leak. So stock up on those if you want those. And lamp oil. Very, very cheap, very inexpensive way to keep your house lit up. If you're going to use a propane one or a white gas one, make sure you stock up on the gas, the ones you pump up. I have a little bit of both. I have actually all three. And it's a lot to stock up on, but it's nice to have them. Also, too, check yard sales for that kind of stuff. Yard sales will sometimes have old Coleman lanterns, stuff like that. Definitely handy, definitely good and worthy to check out. So, let's move on to the next item, and that is matches and lighters. Now, of course, I don't have a lighter out here, believe it or not. But I did bring out some matches. If you can find the Strike Anywhere matches, they're really, really handy. They're getting harder and harder to find. These are awesome, too, these Stormproof matches from UCO. But packs of matches, anywhere you can find them. These are Stand Sport. These came in some kit that I bought years ago. Anyway, matches are very, very important. You can still pretty much get them for free almost. If a place offers you matches somewhere, if you're buying cigarettes, whatever, hey, would you like a pack of matches? Sure, take them, put them away. Or just buy a box of them. Very, very handy to have. And something that, again, was very hard to find during the pandemic. I don't know why. It wasn't like we had the great match shortage, but it was like people went into survival mode, looked up all those lists online, and went out and bought all the stuff. All right, next up, non-perishable food. Now, we would think that would be common sense. But some people will go out and buy the cool stuff first, the guns, the ammo, the generator, all that, and go, oh, wait, I don't have any food. So I got a small little representation here of food here, some rice, some spaghetti and meatballs, canned chicken, a Walmart version of Spam, which I find to be just as good. Definitely stock up on that. I do have a video coming up of a haul that I did locally here from some survival type stuff that I'm rotating in and out. I'm really at the point now where I'm not stocking up. I'm going through my stuff and saying, okay, this is about 2 years old. Let's go buy new and use the old up. So this is some of the stuff that I've been picking up. And of course, as you know, that stuff was next to impossible to find anywhere in stores. All right. Number 3, sleeping bags and extra blankets. Now, the blankets weren't out of stock locally here, but the sleeping bags were. And I have a little sleeping bag over here. Okay. Definitely stock up on them. Reason being, if you don't have heat in your house, okay, we are moving into the winter months soon. If you don't have heat in your house, or you can't afford it, or you can't pay the bill, or there's some kind of emergency, or your heater's down, getting repair on things lately has been really difficult because of the staffing shortage. So for me to have a heater go down, it might take me 2 to 3 weeks before I can get somebody out here to fix it. So definitely keep yourself some sleeping bags. They don't have to be below 0. Remember, you are inside your house. So a couple of blankets and a sleeping bag can keep you really warm at night and even during the day if you don't have a heater and you're into the winter months and it starts getting cold. All right, next up, propane. Basically all kind of fuels, but propane. These little bottles are just now coming back into stock locally here. I would say about a month ago they started showing up, and they've gone way up. Remember, one of the purposes of being a prepper and stocking up is to be a little bit of a protection against inflation. If I buy, say, that propane bottle for $1.99 back 5 years ago, it's still good. And I go to use it, and I'm using it on 5 years ago money. So I'm actually saving money by stocking up. If I go out today and buy it for $6.99, big difference. Now, I don't know the exact prices on them. I'm just kind of giving you a rough estimate. But just make sure that you stock up. Even the 20-pound cylinders, fill them up, get them ready, stock that stuff up. If you have one you use on a barbecue, maybe you want to use it up, fill it up. Definitely stock them up and get yourself ready for whatever's coming. All right, let's move on to the next item. Next up is going to be a radio. All right. And I do have a video coming up on a portable digital TV as well. Not a bad idea. I'm going to show you some options out there. But a radio, having a way to get information, keep up to date on what's going on, maybe hear updates. I have this little guy here. This is the Eton Crank radio. This is from the Red Cross. It's one of those Red Cross radios, but it's a very nice portable radio. It has AM and FM and weather band. Doesn't do shortwave. You don't necessarily need a shortwave radio. Something that fell over early in the video is a little handheld. You know, a Baofeng, what is this? I forget what these are. The S9R Plus, I believe. Definitely a handy thing if you've got the correct licenses. These will transmit, although it's kind of a gray area, on GMRS if you have the correct licenses. And they will transmit, of course, on the ham bands. So you definitely want to get your communications plan in order. But if you don't feel like becoming a ham and you don't know much about radio and you don't want to get involved in all that stuff, just get yourself a little AM/FM radio, maybe one with a crank on it, so you can keep up to date on what the heck is going on around the world and around your town. All right, next up, this is one I preach, and I do a lot of reviews on them. This is one I preach to everybody because so many people are all electric now in their homes. Stoves, a way to cook. Now this is just one I pulled out. It's just a little isobutane stove. Nothing fancy. It folds open on the legs. You know, you can cook with it like that. Nothing super fancy on it, but it does work well. If you can find yourself a used Coleman stove, you know, 2-burner camp type stove, just make sure you have adequate ventilation. If you live in a one-room, tiny little house with no windows, don't use it inside. But generally, I mean, I've used propane ovens in my house, you know, propane burners in my house for years during power outages. Never had an issue. We have very high ceilings, about 1,700 square foot in the house. We're going to be just fine, you know, using that inside. So no issues with that. Just make sure, be smart, you know. Use your brain, make sure you're smart. Okay, next up, duct tape. Duct tape did disappear around here, and I don't know why. Nobody, like, needed it. It wasn't like during, like, the after 9/11 where they were telling you to seal up your windows with duct tape and plastic sheeting, but duct tape disappeared. Again, I kind of think it had something to do with people just running out and saying, what did I get for emergencies? Oh, yeah, let's do that. All right, you know. So I think some of it had to do with it. Next up is first aid kits. Okay, a well-stocked first aid kit with your basic medical supplies, as well as maybe some extra of your prescriptions in there. Now, I do advise people, if you are taking prescriptions, maybe talk to your doctor, maybe find an alternate source, a legal one, of getting your prescriptions so that you can have some for emergencies. Generally, unless it's, you know, like some kind of pain meds, you can go to a doctor and say, hey, look, you know, I'm kind of concerned, you know, with the economy getting weird and everything, and can I maybe get like an extra 30-day supply of my heartburn meds or my heart meds or, you know, my whatever I'm going to have, whatever I'm taking, or my blood pressure meds. They're generally going to be kind of understanding with that, as long as you're willing to pay for it. If your insurance won't, no big deal. This is a medical kit I put together here. You guys have seen this bunches of time. It's a 50-cent roll-up. I bought the roll-up for 50 cents in Goodwill. I put some of these paracord extensions on it, and as you can tell, this is everything from bleeding to basic first aid to pills, you know, first aid medication type stuff. I have anti-diarrhea meds in there. I have some leaves, some allergy meds, pink things. So everything's in there pretty much. Basic stuff that I would take during an emergency. I do have some liquid skin, some hemostatic agent, a tourniquet, pretty much everything in here. I built this kit together myself with what, you know, along with what I used as well as what was recommended. It is not by any means a perfect kit, but it's a pretty darn good first aid kit, and it beats anything you're going to buy in the store for $20 or $30. So again, assess your needs for medical and get what you need, stock up on it, and go from there. Next up, flashlights. Can't tell you how many times I've been in preppers' homes and they have an old D-cell with the batteries not checked in 2 years flashlight. Get yourself a good flashlight. Doesn't have to be Olight. This is just one I keep out here charged up. Doesn't have to be Olight. It could be anything. Get yourself a decent flashlight. Even if it's a $1.99 one, as long as it's got an LED and a good long life, get yourself a flashlight. If it isn't rechargeable, get yourself batteries. If it is rechargeable, get yourself, again, the power stations so you can recharge it during an emergency. All right, let's move on to the next thing, and that is fuel. Okay, fuel for your generator, your vehicles, your cook stoves, whatever. If you use white gas in one of those old Coleman pump-up stoves, get yourself the white gas you need. If you're using alcohol stoves, buy extra alcohol. Get the heat, get the denatured methanol spirits that you can buy at Home Depot. I've got a can back there of gas as a representation that's actually empty. I have to fill it up. But definitely get yourself fuel for whatever you're going to need. One of the things that I really found that you couldn't find, by the way, and this is another item, was gasoline containers. You couldn't buy gas cans. They were nowhere. I did see some people buying the racing gas cans. Have you ever seen those? They're kind of odd squat shape with a big long plastic tube. We do have a lot of off-road racing out here, so you'll probably see more of that here than you would in other places. All right, let's move on to the next item, and that is garbage bags. These things, especially compactor bags, were really hard to come by. Basically, any kind of plastic or paper good was really hard to come by during that pandemic. A lot of it had to do with the toilet paper and the hoarding and all that weird stuff, but you know, you could not buy garbage bags very easily, okay? They were very hard to come by. I like compactor bags because they're super thick, and they have so many uses as well as just dumping garbage in. You can even make makeshift shelters out of them. Very easy to use, very cool. All right, let's move on to the second to last item. Actually, it is the last item because I mentioned the gasoline containers, and that's garden seeds. Was it Wisconsin, that Gretchen Whitmer decided that you weren't allowed to buy garden seeds during the pandemic. So definitely get yourself some non-hybrid good garden seeds. You will be very happy if you learn how to plant now during a time of non-emergency or during a time where we're approaching a possible severe inflation, recession, depression. You'll be very happy if you know how to do this stuff right now ahead of time and not mess around with it later. So that's the list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. That's 25 items that are going to disappear fast in a crisis from my point of view. Now, if you guys have other items, of course there's other items here. I'm sure there's, I didn't mention feminine needs for sanitation. I didn't mention other stuff. Feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Definitely check them out, and feel free to leave anything that you saw locally in your area that disappeared during the pandemic, besides toilet paper and paper towels. We all knew that one. And if you guys have any information on what you're seeing as far as shortages now, feel free, shoot me an email. My email is on my About page, and you can check it out there. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out all our links down below. We have our Amazon affiliate store. We have our freeze-dried wholesaler link. Definitely check them out. Good way to stock up on food. Remember, I said canned food, and this stuff is perfectly fine. I'm not telling you not to buy this. But if you can afford a little bit better for a longer term, check out Freeze-Dry Wholesalers. You will save 15% just by using my link. Below that is my Patriot Supply. That's preparewithiridium.com. We're running two specials this month, actually, there. That's the 4-week kit for $50 off. 4 weeks worth of food, that quickly, $50 off. And the 3-month kit for $150 off. And below that is our Thrive Life freeze-dried food store. Definitely check them out if you're interested in good, clean, quality food that can be stored for 25 years. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay prepared.